Hello, friends. In the neighborhood again. When I'm able to be out, when I'm able to be out, it was out in the neighborhood. Uh, don't explain that yet. Just the attachment. Do this yourself. Note to self. Okay. We are going to talk about a time in my life where, contrary to never shutting the fuck up in the last 15 to 25 years, we're going to mention the last 2 to 3 years previous to that. I mean, as in when my birth was. We're going to talk about the one time in my life where I didn't say a single word for years on end. Now, what am I referring to? Well, of course, it's the first 3 years of my life. Well, before I became diagnosed as autistic. That's when I could do behavioral therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and even motor skills training for my life. And to the extent that I can be, I'm not going to sit here and claim that I immediately started talking after they did the therapy for my autism, but there you go. So, in the first, I spoiled enough of the story already, but in the first 3 years of my life, basically, I had been a person who, I didn't show much interest in the world around me, or rather, I did anyways for imaginative purposes. But after I was born, around the prediction, and comparatively speaking, keep in mind, my mom had 3 siblings to compare me to. For all the right reasons, right? You had John Michael, the oldest, older than me. No one else is older than me. Then me. Then the 2 youngers, Willie and Ray. William, Nathan, and Ray Lofton. So we got 3 siblings to compare me to, and all the presumably in the early moments, whether this is relevant or not, as you can imagine, are all neurotypicals compared to me. I hate the word, by the way, a fun fact, I do not like the word neurodivergent. It makes me feel like people are entitled and arrogant about being autistic. It makes it look like they're being better or worse than other people, which is not true. You're not better than or worse than anybody, you're just yourself. Neurodivergent to me is a very toxic word to use. Because being self-special or self-victim mentality is kind of dumb. But then again, I don't have preferences for autism words in the first place, kind of like other people. Anyways, I see that the way my mom explained this was that the first few years of my life, I would grow up, develop pretty well, be a happy baby, not necessarily cause trouble. Only when I was trying to get her attention, really. But other than that, I wouldn't cause much trouble, and I would be, happy baby. Well, some of the best things about my childhood was that I expressed my emotions easily without limitation. But my mother noticed something, especially including my father, by the way, at the time. They're both still around, but yeah. My mother noticed that going to age 3 or 6, I would not talk at all. Don't laugh, do not laugh. I would not talk at all. And she was wondering, because normally in age development for children, you talk at some point at least once or twice. You say your first word, you do your first, interactions. You even go to the park on your own. Well, what am I saying? But yeah, you have interactions and you have ways to speak about things, even to yourself, and you blabbermouth and you even have imaginations. But I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't say anything at all to her own understanding, knowledge, and evidence. I wouldn't say anything. And the interesting thing was that my dad was honest about that too. He noticed that I wouldn't say anything, and it was actually kind of cooler. Well, not cool, but neither of them knew that I could have said a word by then, because when they weren't around, they didn't hear. They could only hear me cry if I was calling her at night. But I didn't say a single word the entire time I was an infant. I entered my toddler phase only merely saying the words after they did the therapy. So, and the way they found out is, I kind of spoiled this earlier, but when they investigated what happened, what caused this was that, I was diagnosed as either POS-NND, which is the alternative they would have said it was if it was autism, but it's either autism or POS-NND. And I looked into POS and NND a little bit, besides autism, because that's the only other thing it could have been, was POS, and not autism. Because if I'm not autistic, I could have been that instead. But I looked into it's a bit shallow if you don't mind, but And so the thing is that when you think about how the heck I became someone who never shuts up, I can imagine that story is the one thing you would want to hear about. Whether I limit myself to saying that for only 4 to 5 minutes so far, by actually telling the story, literally, unironically, literally telling the story out loud, as someone who doesn't shut up anyways, and then that's how you hear about the story, is when you're not shutting up about how I did ever shut up. because I didn't say anything at all. So it's frightening. It is frightening. It's like, wait, you mean you went from 0 to hero and you still fucked it up? Yes. I went from someone who didn't shut up to only shutting up to not shutting up again. Because the way I started was I didn't say anything in the first place. I couldn't even say anything when I was a baby. What makes you think I wouldn't shut up when I was? And then going into my teen years, the first time this happened, when I wouldn't shut up, was when I entered my teens. Because then I was liberating my language in the first place. This takes me back to like way back into like 2010 or 11, right when Pekin was born, in her own family in Canada. So around the time McKean was born, you know, I get suicidal, I get bullied, I get my pornography addiction. That's when I wouldn't shut up the fuck up. And that's also when I wouldn't make any sense. And I can get into another video about not making sense. It feels my past, like, kind of throwback and, you know, a little bit of a story time, but, you know, take care. It's obvious to me that, I'll give this one more minute, but, like, it's obvious to me that when I tell stories like this, I'm not looking for sympathy or clout, or chasing dreams, or talking about neo-Nazis and making bullshit about hate speech, just because I don't know how to be a philosopher, okay? If a philosopher has to make sense, eventually he will. If I have to be clear and concise, eventually I will. But for the record, I don't regret not making sense or not summarizing what I say. I don't like it when 8 billion human beings want to believe they have to have the same thinking mentality like sheep do. Kind of like sheeple, if you know the reference to that. Being a status quo, you know, kind of a follow the herd mentality of you have to make sense eventually, so why not limit what we say or even not waste your time? I'm not like that, guys. I was a unique baby from the start. I was never trying to be a starseed, not just a starseed volunteer. I was not trying to be a starseed chosen one. I hated that mentality. But at the same time, why can't I have an opinion or be accepted to the world by being a philosopher, right?